Kartana, base 181 attack stat. Simply stunning. Just unbelievable. Terrakion, base, 129 was it? Okay. But here's the thing. Kartana, on paper, Winks, is the stronger mon. But Terrakion, in practice, slightly edges him out. Friends, this is the point of the video today. How can you know a mon's strength just on their base stats alone? Well, you gotta look at items, abilities, boosts, and move power. So this is my attempt at defining damage tiers. So this is a video where I am ranking Pokemon based on the actual applicable damage that they can do, rather than just like potential based on their attacking stats, because it does often come down to move power and or the items they hold, or like what kind of boosting potential that they have. So damage tiers. Let's get into my methodology. So every attack is going to be hitting the same mon defensively. This hypothetical mon that I've set up, you can think of it as a Mew because it has base 100 HP defense and special defense. All stats maxed out. Both defenses have plus natures, so this mon can't actually exist. It's very hypothetical. It's typeless as well, so you know, there's no super effective or resisted hits. All calcs assume max EVs and IVs. That is true for the attackers, as well as the Mew that I was just talking about. All level 100. So I'm assuming one turn of setup maximum. I just thought that a lot of Pokemon need at least one turn to really do a lot of damage. So I didn't want to just exclude them and only do like specs and choice band Pokemon. So the movesets are competitive. What I mean by that is I'm not going to throw a life orb on a belly drum set, for example, just because it doesn't make sense, even though it would add more power. Certain mons, like Nidoking, would prefer life orb over specs, for example, stuff like that. Certain mons want heavy duty boots. Also, nature-wise, if a mon most likely would run a plus speed nature, then that's what I'm going to go with. If it's ambiguous, or at least if I thought it was ambiguous, I will outline it in the calc. Primarily doing stab moves, because those are the strongest. There's some examples of like Toxtricity, where like Boom Burst is stronger than its stab. Stuff like that I will include. No Dynamax moves, and lastly, Galardex only. Maybe one day I will do, you know, Megas and stuff if they ever come back. Okay, so real quick I'm going to go over the tiers that I've created. First of all, these are separated by the amount of damage that Xmon does to the Mew that I outlined earlier, the base 100 maxed out defensive mon, okay? So even to do 40% is a lot. A lot of really powerful mons didn't make the cut. So I felt like 40 was a pretty good starting point for D-. You'll notice D and C tiers are 3 to 4% per tier. That's just because there's so many bunched up in that zone. And then B, A, and especially S, there's quite a bigger gap just because less mons are filling that those tiers. So yeah, let's move on here. First things first, honorable mentions. Obviously these are the mons that didn't make my 40% cutoff for D- tier, but I still felt like were worth mentioning just to give you guys like a kind of baseline on the starting point of the damage that we're working with here. I went back and forth on conceptualizing like how to present all this data because there's so much of it that I went through, maybe too comprehensive, but basically I decided on I'm going to list out, you know, the exact calc, percentages, and obviously the moves and mons that are dishing them out. And then at the end of every tier, for example, all of D tier, I will actually lay them out visually on what you would normally expect from like a tier list kind of visual thing. Okay? Makes sense? You'll see what I mean. So, why do I have Nidoking in the middle here? I wanted to have one mon for every tier that kind of represents the tier. I wanted to have something that like maybe you're familiar with, like Sludge Wave from Sheer Force Nidoking, pretty common, right? And so it's a good measuring stick for the rest of the mons here to see like, oh, like Zygarde after a Dragon Dance using 1,000 arrows, for example, hits pretty much exactly as hard as Sludge Wave from Nidoking. So that's kind of the point of this video, is just to kind of gauge and see how much damage mons are doing in relation to other mons. Make sense? So the only thing that I wanted to note in this tier, beyond all that, is Clefable is 0 EVs in special attack. Made a little note there. And that's the only exception to my one rule that I said would be max EVs for everything on the board. Only because it's a very meta thing, but like usually Clefable doesn't want any special attack investment. It wants to be as bulky as possible for that particular Calm Mind Life Orb set. But anyway, yeah, notables on this list, we have like Spectre, you know, Hatterene, Zeraora. You won't see these mons again. This is as powerful as they get, basically. So, let's move on to D tier. D minus tier. This is the Tapu Koko Choice Specs Timid Thunderbolt tier. This is interesting because there's a lot of priority moves in this tier. +2 Life Orb Aqua Jet from Crawdaunt, Banded Grassy Glide from Rillaboom. Both equally as strong as like Victini's V-Create. So that's crazy to me. That, I mean, primarily just the Rillaboom, that it can just get in there with Grassy Glide and be as strong as a V-Create. It's so crazy strong. Genesect, if you're wondering why it's banded and +1 at the same time, that's assuming a download boost. Anything else noteworthy? Flip Turn from Barraskewda is a weak move, but you put Band on it and put it in the rain, it's incredibly powerful. That's about it. Landorus Eye, Life Orb, the bane of overused, but back when it was allowed, but coming in right at the bottom of this tier list. Also funny that Aegislash, Specs, Shadow Ball, and Banded Ironhead are the exact same damage, but it makes sense because it has equal attacking stats, and those are equally powerful attacking moves. Next is D tier, home of Banded, Adamant, Meteor Mesh, Metagross. You may notice a couple Ubers in this tier. I am including Ubers in this entire thing. I feel like it would be dismissive of me to not do that. Now, disclaimer, I'm not super familiar with a lot of Uber Pokemon. I had to reference Smogon here and there, so, you know, shout me out in the comments if I'm missing some sets. But anyways, some notable mons here. Sylveon. You forget how strong it is, but with Specs, Hyper Voice, with Pixelate particularly, it's incredibly strong. Starmie coming in with Life Orb Analytic Hydro Pump. Cincino, Chinsano. Banded Tail Slap. Very strong move. Excellent stuff. Next, we have D tier, D plus, part 1, because there's so many D tiers. This Dragapult Choice Specs Draco Meteor is kind of the benchmark for this tier. It seemed like a good measuring stick because most people know about how much damage that does. Some interesting ones here. Regibrock, +2 body press, doing a lot. Its defense is just insane. Horn Leech, a weak move from Bulu that heals him back up, doing as much as Draco. Seems pretty crazy. Also, Darmanitan, Flare Blitz. That's with no item. No boosting item, rather. That's just how strong Darmanitan is. And here's part 2. Yeah, let's see. Heatran with just Eruption. Another example of a mon with no boosting item, just like extremely strong move. And then yeah, the tier tops out at Weavile Banded Triple Axle, extremely strong, and Urshifu Banded Rapid Strikes. And here we have the visual representation of the D tier and the honorable mentions. So you'll notice that it doesn't have all of the mons that I listed, but that's on purpose. These are just the ones that don't move up to higher ranks. They basically cap out at these levels. And disclaimer though, this is just the highest amount of single turn damage they can do after a turn of boost, potentially. It does not account for average damage output. So for example, Cincino at D tier hits super hard with Tail Slap. Landorus at D minus hits super hard with Earth Power, but overall Landorus hits way harder with every other move it has than Cincino. So take it for what it's worth here. It's really just ranking the max single attack that they can do, okay? Next is C minus tier part 1, because this is a busy tier, and this is the tier that Urshifu Single Strike with Wicked Blow Choice Band finds himself in. One of the most feared attacks in the game, to be honest. Very hard to switch into. But interestingly, there are a lot of options that hit just as hard as Urshifu Single Strike. The thing about that is, though, a lot of them have a pretty big downside, such as you'll see Salamence and Dragonite +1 Outrage. You don't want to get locked into Outrage, really. A lot of them are using close combat, which lowers your defenses. With Urshifu, not only is there no downside, you actually have the benefit of critting through defense boosts. So it's part of the reason that this mon is incredible. Is he's getting a benefit where other mons are suffering some kind of negative, or they need to boost to hit the power that he's hitting, like a Blastoise needs to Shell Smash, for example. Okay, C tier, Latios Choice Specs Draco Meteor. Very classic, super strong move. Quite a few comparables, as you can see. What's interesting to me about this tier, you've got a lot of mons that are now starting to hit the +2 threshold. In the earlier tiers, there's mostly just a strong mon with a choice band or choice specs. But now we're seeing +2 Barbaracle, +2 Hawlucha, and that's rivaling the power of some of these extremely strong mons that are just holding a boosting item. And then, on top of that, you have Guts, Heracross, and Marowak, who, yes, they need certain items to trigger their attack power, but they don't need a turn to set up, and they don't get locked into a certain move. So, shout out to those mons for being strong as hell. C+. This is the Darmanitan G tier. This is as strong as Darm gets. I mean, unless you make him adamant. So this is a mon that's banned from overused, for being too strong. This again goes back to my Lander's Eye analogy though, that all of his moves are really strong. This just happens to be his strongest one. But it's strong. But we're nowhere near like getting to the top of the mountain here. I would like to see Darmanitan retested in overused personally, because I feel like it's worth a try. He's very strong. He hits about as hard as Pelipper, turns out. Modest specs Weatherball Pelipper in the rain hits really hard, as does Indeedee with specs Expanding Force in Psychic Terrain. So those two mons are classic examples of like one super strong nuke, not much else going on, like offensively at least, and then you've got Darm, who's the same as them but hits super hard with everything. Also notable, Dracovish, Jolly, Vicious Rend. That's it. Just a Jolly Vicious Rend is as strong as all of this shit and stronger than everything before it. Just absolutely broken. And here we have the C tier in its entirety. Again, these are the mons that don't move up any higher in the ranks, so they kind of eclipse the ranks that they're at. So yeah, we got Lunala in there as far as Ubers. That's kind of it, I think. Am I missing anything? Marshadow in C tier. Although, oh, and Genesect. Yeah, and Zamazenta. Okay, there's a few, sure. And I guess Darm. Alright, guys, I've heard it. I've heard enough. Either way, a lot of strong mons here. Some mons you'd expect. Maybe some you wouldn't expect. Like Silvally. Turns out just having Swords Dance and 120 base power attack is enough to get you up there. B-, crowded tier. So I chose Magearna as the rep for this tier because it appears twice and it has two very different ways of hitting like basically the exact same amount of damage. So the one you see there is just a simple like specs modest Flare Cannon. Flare Cannon is a super strong move. Slap specs on it, it's going to do a huge amount of damage. And then the other one is Timid Magearna at +2 special attack with 160 base power stored power, and that is accomplished in one turn if you have weakness policy and you use shift gear. So, which is not uncommon. That would happen quite a bit in overuse back when it was allowed. And stored power after that just nukes. It's a bit of a nuke. Other notables here, we have Calyrex S, not Calyrex I, because it's actually quite a bit weaker than Calyrex I. Astral Barrage is weaker than Glacial Lance, and B, Calyrex I can afford to go Adamant, whereas Calyrex S wants to invest in speed for its nature, so timid. Another fun thing about this is you have Scyther, fucking Scyther, with +2 dual wing beat, right in the middle of Palkia, Zekrom, Yveltal, Calyrex. Why use those mons when you can use Scyther, guys? Turns out dual wing beat with Technician and Swords Dance is it. It's it. B tier, baby. Thunderous T tier. This is the Thunder set because it is often run on rain teams. +2 Thunderous hits very hard. Also some Titans in this tier. Kirim White, Reshiram, Dialga, all hitting very hard. About as hard as a +6 extreme speed from Lanoon. Very cool. And Mienshao, Banded, Reckless, High Jump Kick. You don't see that much anymore now that he's got close combat, but very, very fun, very powerful mon. Okay, we're at B+. Things are getting strong now. We got a few +6 mons in the mix here. Greedent and Ice Cube. We got Poltegeist at stored power, 180 BP +2. That's with Shell Smash plus Weak Armor. We got Melmetal with Banded Double Iron Bash doing an insane amount. Specs Mind Blown Blacephalon. Kyogre with Water Spout. Jeez, guys, things are getting strong. Jeez. And here's the visual of the B tier list. Didn't mention Inteleon with Crit Hydro Pump and Sniper making this list. Very strong mon. You know, shout out to him. Okay, A-. Yeah, heck, we got Urshifu Rapid Strike putting Single Strike to shame with Surging Strikes in the rain. Accidental Rhyme making me feel kind. It's not good. What else we got? +1 Life Orb Rayquaza equal to the power of +2 Garchomp and or Terrakion. Pretty cool. Again, move power is factoring in here. Dragon Ascent is a stronger move than the other two. Also, Banded Bulu Woodhammer is just that strong. Come on. Come on. A tier, this is the +2 Xerneas tier, Modest Moonblast. Strong as hell. Things are getting pretty strong now, guys. I don't know what to tell you. We got some strong mons. There's some strong ones. There's a few strong guys. Moltres +5. That's with Weakness Policy, Berserk, and Nasty Plot all in one turn. It is very possible. We've got a couple mons that just have nothing fancy. Scolipede and Beware. They just have strong attack, boosting item, high base power move, basically. And they're +2 attack. So that goes a long way. Kingler. Let's not forget about Kingler, please. He's very strong. Very strong mon. Okay, A+ tier. This is the big one. This is up there with S tier almost. Not quite, but it's close. So we have A+. We've got Zacian C +3. That's Intrepid Sword activating, and then your sword's dancing after that. You know, strong as hell. We've got Mewtwo in the mix here. Dracovish Banded this time. Very cool. Yeah, let's see. Kartana +2. Yeah, obviously Terrakion's going to be a little further up. You know, guys. Omastar +3 Meteor Beam. Cool. Very cool mon. Worth using, IMO. And Regidrago. I think this is where Regidrago caps out. He's been throughout this list, making many appearances. Modest Specs Dragon Energy is so strong. Like, Zacian needs to boost to +3 to match that kind of power. That's, guys, that's very strong. And here we have the visualization of the A list mons. Some beautiful mons here. +6 Slurpuff. Oof. Kingler. Can we not forget about Kingler, please? Kingler is amazing. Kingler for president? I mean, I'd vote for him. Okay, finally entering the S tier, S-. Friggin' Hydreigon somehow is more powerful than all the guys before it, with just +2 Life Orb Draco Meteor. That's impressive as hell. Banded Victini in the Sun is like the similar amount of damage. That is so strong. Flapple with +1 Outrage and just Life Orb. Why is Flapple so strong? Guys, Flapple? I don't know. It's pretty strong. Guys. +6 Snorlax? +6 Snorlax the same power as Flapple? I don't know. You know what? I had to double and triple check a lot of these calcs because I was like, okay, that's not true. They were true. So this has been educational for me, and I hope for you too. I'm not ending it right now. It sounds like I am. There's still a few tiers, so don't worry. Don't worry. S tier, almost there. One more tier to go, but these mons are strong as hell. Zapdos G, Choice Band +2. That's just if he's got his Defiant boost activated while he's banded. Insane damage. Marowak with just +2 Poltergeist, somehow as strong as everything else here. Necrozma at +3, that's Weakness Policy and Dragon Dance. Everything else pretty self-explanatory. Regieleki, Specs, Terrain, Rising Voltage is just something to behold. As well as Blacephalon there, Mind Blown in the Sun. God, just the top of the mountain of damage, almost. We've made it, okay? S+ tier. This is the pinnacle of damage. It's so high. So, you know, if you know Pokemon, you might know Kyogre is regarded as like the gold standard of damage. Water Spout Kyogre is just insanely powerful. And it cracks this tier. It's halfway through. But I should say about it that it is the top mon for no setup required. As far as like self-sufficient mons, this is the number one. The rest of these mons on this list either need to boost or need to have a weather setup for them or something. So Kyogre is still the king in that regard. But that said, you give some mons a turn and they can surpass it, such as somehow Rillaboom with fucking Woodhammer, and Taboo Bulu for that matter, same kind of thing. Azumarill +6 Play Rough, very strong. And then at the very top, so I find this interesting. Dracozolt and Dracovish, the whole time, Dracozolt was stronger, okay? It's just a stronger mon.
Simply a stronger man.
But with the terrain nerf, you put Dracozolt in terrain and Dracovish in rain, Dracovish ends up stronger in the very end when it comes down to it the most. To know who is the number one most powerful mon. Turns out it's Dracovish in the end. Or it would be, if not for one other extremely powerful mon. It's Greedent, baby. Oh, Greedent. Oh my god. Oh, baby. Greedent. Facade. It's Greedent, baby. +6 belly drum status. +6 facade. Inflicted. Stronger than Dracovish. Yeah. Fucking rain. Status. Greedent, baby. Come on. Whoa. Okay, my bad there. Things got a little crazy, a little out of hand. When Greedent's in the mix, you know, anything can happen. So let's wrap things up here. We're looking at the final tier, the S tier, in all its glory. The cream of the crop, these mons, you know? Top of the mountain. And not only this, I have the final Ultimo tier list. This is everything at once. So I know it's a bit small. It's the only way I can fit them all on the screen. But this is everyone we've talked about today. I know I've missed some mons. I for sure have missed some. So please let me know which ones I've missed in the comments. I know Pangoro I overlooked, and I was finishing this video and I was like, oh god, Pangoro, I'm sorry. And I'm sure there's several others. But yeah, final thoughts. Grassy terrain plus Woodhammer seems to be an unbeatable combo. Vicious Brendan and Boltbeak are insanely strong. This is not news. Greedent is #1 mon in the world. That's pretty much all of the takeaways that I had. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'll put a link in the description of my actual Excel spreadsheet, or maybe I'll put it on like Google Docs and make a public link for anyone who wants to actually look over like just like the raw data if they're interested. And yeah, I mean, if this video is well received, maybe I'll do a part 2 for all the rest of the months that aren't in the Galar decks. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed. This was fun to make. Hope it was fun to watch. And yeah, thanks for watching.